I was not in this position back then. That was between 2004 2005, where the city had experienced a drought. However, the drought hadn't extended for the length of time that we've seen now, and our storage capacity levels didn't reduce to the levels that we've seen now. Essentially, this drought that we're experiencing is probably the worst in a century, and so we have to be conscious that this is probably going to be a recurring factor in the coming future, and we have to proactively plan for that, which is what we're doing right now. As a result of that drought situation, the city did drive water conservation, because it is international best practice during a drought to first and foremost, and with immediate effect, manage your usage, which is why we did so straight after that drought, and we have been continuing saving our consumption. I mean, if we look at our consumption from just over a year ago, we were consuming just over 1.2 billion litres of water a day. We're currently sitting at around 710 million litres of water that's being consumed per day. That's our collective usage. So there's been great effort in saving, and the fact that we've been able to save and reach the 20% savings target which national government has set for us means that we've been able to mitigate the risk of immediate water scarcity. And so that will be an ongoing plan with the introduction of alternative water sources. I think most importantly is to look at the water usage within the entire Western Cape supply scheme. The city of Cape Town only consumes about 40% of the entire water within the provincial system, and then about 45% is then taken up by agriculture and smaller municipalities, and then between 20 and then the rest is taken up by natural process of evaporation. Within the city, our regional consumption, the largest consumers are residential. About 70%, both formal and informal, consume water. And then a smaller scale, just over 10%, is consumed by retail and industry. So therefore, our messaging and our campaigns have been largely targeted to residential customers, because that is essentially where the bulk of our consumption is taking place. That is not to say that the commercial and industry users are not adhering. We are actively also monitoring them, and we are engaging directly with them where we see high consumption, both in terms of commercial, industrial and residential users, because only as a collective, if we drive down consumption, do we actually actively manage what we consume and what is within the broader supply system. So the city has done extensive research over the last probably 2 decades around all of the aquifers and springs within our region. We do use some of that water for our own operations, such as irrigation of open public spaces and parks. We are obviously, as part of our emergency supply schemes, tapping into that water and diverting it into our reticulation system for drinking purposes. Some of the water does run off into the ocean, but that's required, and as it runs off into the ocean, it does feed a natural ecosystem, and so it is important to understand that you do require some water to run off stream to ensure that there is that natural protection of the environment. So there needs to be a balance between the two. The city has done extensive research around what yield those springs and aquifers can provide, and we have actively taken that data to populate our 30-year water plan. We are obviously, as part of our emergency supply schemes, going to be using some of those aquifers within the Table Mountain group, which is quite a large group. It extends from here to Mossel Bay and Van Reinsdorp. So it's a large group of aquifers. We also have an aquifer in Atlantis that we've been artificially recharging. We've got a group of aquifers in the Cape Flats region as well. So we have a good understanding of the landscape of other natural resources, water resources, and we have factored all of those into our long-term 30-year water solution plan.